Hello to all you Pisceans, welcome for your monthly forecast for Pisces for the month of November 2014. And what is happening? What are the planets doing? And what does it mean for the Piscean? Well, there are two things that I think are mostly important during the month of November. It is that there is a stellium in the air, and on the other hand, there is an emphasis on Saturn. Because a lot of personal planets, and personal planets I mean Venus, Mercury and the Sun, are going to cross, are going to conjunct Saturn. So a lot of Saturn energy is present during this month. For the Pisceans, it's a very a month of that last month before the big growth. That last month of hard work before the uplift. That last month of putting a lot of effort, putting a lot of focus, a lot of commitment, which is Scorpio, because the stellium that I'm talking about is in Scorpio. It's the last time that you are doing this before you can let go of it and have peace with it. So let's explore this a little bit further. So everyone is experiencing this energy of this stellium, everyone, because everyone has Scorpio somewhere in their chart, and there's going to be lots of planets going through the sign of Scorpio. You are a water sign, so you know it's a fellow water sign. You know how to go deep. That's not a problem for a Piscean, but a Piscean also needs to expand because you're the Jupiter ruled sign. So that's why, you know, you're represented by the fish. The fish is going here and there and everywhere. And that's what you're supposed to do. You are a Piscean. So there's a bit of a paradox for the Pisceans here again, with Saturn in that Scorpio house, which goes deep, which is an over focus, a super commitment, but it's in a very expansive Jupiterian house. The ninth house is the house of Sagittarius. Which is also ruled by Jupiter. So we will all have this super focus on a certain area of life, but you as a Piscean will live through will experience that in a double way. So in a way going deep, yes, but also going expansive. That can cause a little bit of stress, but it's there for a reason. And it means that it is needed at this time to give you the fruits afterwards. And it will, trust me. It's the ninth house. It's the house of, you know, hope and vision. And mostly a Piscean is very good with having a vision. So that's where it boils down to. Now, having a stellium always means when people have in a natal chart a stellium, they can be very good at something, and they can have this over focus of something. And for you Pisceans, it will have to do with the belief system. I'll explain in a minute. But there always needs to be something that keeps you a bit more into balance, because when people have a stellium in ancient astrology, you could say, oh, that's an over focus of one element, which is not good. If you have the temperament of just one element, which is in this case water, you need a bit of counter energy, or how do you call it? And you have that as well happening for you Pisceans. You have Jupiter, your ruler, in the sixth house, which again I'll talk about in a minute, but that gives you the balance. Because when people have too many planets in one house, it's not good for the balance. That's just the way it is. But as I said, there is a need now for you this month in November to have this over focus on your ninth house, and to have this hard work, because Saturn is there. In a natal chart, Saturn in the ninth house is not an easy placement, because again, Saturn wants to contract, restrict, and the ninth house wants to expand. So it's a bit of an inner fight there. But again, it's now the last month that you're going to have this, because Saturn is going into another sign next month. So it's like those last pieces of hard work that everyone is doing. So for you, it's the ninth house. What is the ninth house? It's a lot of things. It's, of course, I'm biased, but for me, it's one of the favorite houses. I'm biased. Why? Because I have a whole stellium in my 9th house. So I know I experienced that fully. So I think I know the pitfalls and the strengths of that. So why is it so important? Because if you work very hard on that 9th house, which you have now the opportunity to do, even more than other months, it means that all your other houses are going to benefit from it. And many months later, maybe years, because of now this hard work in the 9th house. What is the 9th house? It's many things. It's your vision, which is so important for Pisces, but actually for everybody. But having no vision, then you don't know where you're heading at. It's your belief. It's your connection with, if you believe in God, with God. If you don't believe in God, it's your connection with all there is, with the universe, you could say. It's your studies. It's connecting the dots. It's having this broad vision. But in very general terms, it's your belief system. What do you believe in? This is very, very important. What do you believe in? And it's that what the Pisces are working hard at. And I'm going to give you some examples because it's the most abstract house that there is, the 9th house. So I don't want to go into the pitfall of that people, although you Pisces, you do know how to connect the dots, but I want to give some practical examples as well. What could it be? It could be, for instance, that I'm going to give you an example that you see that your belief system is so important for your life in general. Let's say, I'll give you 2 examples. Let's give the example which is, let's say you just had a baby. You're a mom for the first time in your life, or maybe a dad for the first time, but let's do the things easy. Let's say you're a mom for the first time in your life and you have this baby. And you are creating a belief system of how do I have to raise my child. That begins when it's born, you know. And your belief system is formed and it's always in continuation. That's what it's supposed to do. That's the 9th house. We want to see things broad. We don't want to see things one way. That's what the 9th house is offering you. And when you just had a baby, it's something, and let's say it's your firstborn, you're insecure because it's the unknown. So, if you would apply this to the 9th house, you could say the 9th house, the house of the Sagittarian would say to you, explore. Explore in many ways, go on your horse and go to the left and to the right, explore, go on an adventure, look at different realities, and then mix it to your own unique reality and trust that your reality is for you a good reality. That's what the 9th house is basically doing. So you could be at first, which is the work, which is what you're going through now during the month of November, it's that continuously being drawn to what might not be your opinion, what might not be your way of thinking, but other people's thinking. So the Saturn is there to protect you, to put your boundaries towards other people's way of thinking. So you could have a mom who comes in there and says, how you have to raise your kid? Well, every time it cries, you have to let it cry. Let's go a bit to the extremes here. So that's the opinion, and you're an insecure mom, and you say, okay, do I have to follow that? And then there's a good friend of yours that say, well, when your baby is crying, you need to pick it up. You need to pick him or her up every time it's crying. And then you're a bit insecure. You think, do I really need to do that? Do I really, every time a baby cries, is that the way that I want to make my baby a strong person later? Is that the way I should do? You see, this is all the belief system working. And ultimately, by trying all these things out, ultimately, you will have your own way. And that is what you're doing in November, you Pisceans. You will think of, well, my baby, maybe you will think, my baby cries in different ways. Sometimes it cries like, and it really, really is like, they need something, they are hungry, or they have pain. And sometimes they do cry like, they're bored. Yeah, I'm not going to pick him or her up when they're a little bit bored. So you create your own belief system, but it is because you are open to different opinions, but you are detached from it as well. And that's how you create your own belief system. And that is how you trust, and you say, hey, now I'm going towards the doing. Which you could say, when planets go to your 10th house, it's the house of mum, or in other cases it's the house of work, and you apply what you believe in. So this is a process that you Pisces are in. And I know it's a very simple example. I'll give you another example, maybe of another level. Let's say the 9th house for you is astrology. You know, I have all these planets in the 9th house, and I think for a lot it has to do with astrology. So I just take this as an example to make you understand why it's so important to go through that process that can be very challenging. Because the Saturn is making it harder than it should be. You could say astrology, I study astrology, and the worst thing for me with having a stellium in the 9th house that I could do would be just follow one technique. Just follow, let's say, the Vedic astrology approach, which is totally different than the Western. That would not be a good thing because that would be too narrow. And not that the Vedic astrology is a bad thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the 9th house is the approach of explore as many techniques as you can, which I did, and I'm still doing, and then make your own unique technique, because that's the 9th house, the trust that you get from the universe or from God, that you've explored enough, now off you go. You put it into practice, which is the 10th house, which is work. So I've gone a bit on and on about this, but of course, as I said, I'm biased because I love the 9th house. But that's what you're doing. And it could have to do with a relationship. It could have to do with anything. It could have to do with that belief system that you say, maybe in a relationship, I'm too submissive. I'm giving in all the time. And now is the time that you realize that, and that you're restructuring, and yet you're putting your boundaries there, and you're re-evaluating yourself, and then off you go again. So every now and then we have to restructure our belief system, or we get stuck and we become rigid. And we don't want to be rigid because we are suffering when we do that. So very interesting time for Pisces. So I know this is a very up in the air month for you, because it's in November, that stellium in the 9th house, it's up in the air there. But there is something that supports you as well, which is Jupiter in the 6th house. That keeps you into your body. And that is a blessing. For the Pisceans, it's a blessing to have Jupiter in a very Virgo house, actually. It's the opposite of Pisces, which is the 6th house. And that keeps you on planet Earth. That is a sort of a blessing, you could say, to keep yourself physically and mentally healthy. So a lot of you Pisceans are also realizing now that by doing physical, taking into account your physical and mental health, doing some efforts there, that's very, very meaningful for you now, for the Piscean. So it could mean that you're going to be a bit more in the body. And the body has a mind as well. You know, the body is very intelligent as well. And that can help you to ground, to balance that focus on the 9th house. That is really needed, because otherwise you will be living too much up there. And I'm not saying spirituality is bad, but it's just it needs some countering, some realness, and Jupiter offers that. So the 6th house is health, but I also think that's the 6th house. I often associate that with your day-to-day routines. For example, another example that I'm going to give you is administration. I associate administration with the 6th house, and I know that it's not only the Piscean that doesn't like to do his or her administration, but this is the time where you can become more efficient in those areas. And let's have that example of administration. You know, we all know that if we, let's say we are at work and we need to do an emailing, a mail merge, or how do you call that? And you have to do that every month, and every time you are you're seeing this as a huge mountain and it takes time and you don't want to do it because you hate doing those little administrative tasks. And now it's a time that during this month you can work even a bit harder on it, but in order for next month to just do it in a wink. And you can, for example, with the mail merge, whilst you have 100 contacts and you're putting every contact into your email, you know, where you want to mail it to, you are taking the time now to put those 100 emails into an Excel file, for instance. So next time you can simply copy paste. So, and this is what the Piscean is realizing, that doing the effort of being an hour or 2 hours or whatever it takes to do some extra boring work, it will benefit, and do it with some bit of music, with maybe some nice piece of food or whatever. Do it in as nice moment as you can, but do it anyway, and that will benefit you in the long run, because it's putting order. Jupiter in the 6th house is really good for putting order into those little things, but those little things that make your life way easier. So what a month it is in November. So it's still a bit of hard work there. Keep on going. The rewards will be next month. Saturn is leaving that 9th house. You're going to feel hope again. You're going to feel that relief. You're going to feel, yes, I can get started. I can apply it, which is for next month, the 10th house. Thank you a lot for watching. Thank you very much. Have a good month, you Pisces, and see you next month. Bye-bye.